Hey Rumble, hey YouTube, it's the Infidel, and I'm back. This time, we're going to go ahead and get into Tom Clancy's The Division 2. So the new season's getting ready to drop, and from what I gathered from the PTS discussion with Yanick and Daria, I guess you want to say it that way, is some of the updates that are coming out with Season 2. And I really wanted to pay attention to this only because I'm more interested in The Division 3 and how that's going to be developed and come along. And I really paid attention to this to see if I could get any nuggets, any tidbits of information regarding the Division 3, because Division 2, let's be honest, is 6 years old. It's kind of run its course. They keep pushing stuff out like it's going to change the game, but it doesn't. They still got a problem with cheaters and updates that come out and break the game. So I'm going to get into it. I'm going to address some things that I saw in the Twitch stream that they did, and we'll address each one. So without further ado, here we go into the first point. Burden of proof. Or is it burden of truth? Her English is horrible.
But we need to address the elephant in the room first. And as some of you know, if you don't, here is a big reveal. The next season is called Burden of Truth.
Later on in the stream, Yanick clarifies that it is Burden of Truth. So that is the Season 3 title. Burden of Truth. And going on from that will be the title of the next season, which is The Battle for Brooklyn. And I'll go ahead and let them break that down to you like this.
This is the official logo for the upcoming DLC that is called Battle for Brooklyn.
And they went on to release some key art that's going to be pretty much the backdrop. I'll go ahead and show that to you right here.
So we're here today to present you the key art of the Battle for Brooklyn, our upcoming DLC.
Alright, so Battle for Brooklyn. It's cool and everything, but the DLC was supposed to be released at the end of this season. That was the entire premise behind the DLC from last year. Now, they released a statement on social media via X that they weren't going to be releasing it during the season, but they're going to wait till after the end of Year 6, which this season finalizes Year 6. But later on, Yanick confirms that it will be released this calendar year in 2025. And we'll just go ahead and let Dana and Yanick get into the definitions of this. Here we go.
So the DLC will be launching this year. I was also expecting some sound effects.
It's not dominating, yeah.
So they go ahead and explain that the DLC is not going to be released at the original time that they stated, and that it's going to be released sometime this year. Big reveal. No one's surprised, but look at that 3-second pause in between where they expected some kind of celebration. Dude, you said it was going to come out earlier than that, and then you changed the date, and you expect people to be happy about it. Come on. That's not right. Yanick then goes into try to explain away why it's not coming out when it said it was going to come out and why it's being delayed.
When we say it's not coming out of in Year 6, all it means is that it's not coming with the upcoming season, which is the last season of Year 6, which was the expectation. And we needed to clarify before we start talking about this season. We needed to be, clear about the fact that this season will not include the DLC. The DLC will come later. In the lack of clarity of this message, obviously some people speculated that not Year 6 can mean anything. It can mean just the day after Year 6, or it can mean a year after Year 6. So that's the part that needs to be clear. It is going to be this year, this calendar year, so 2025.
Daria did go on to explain that they would be releasing more information on the DLC in March when they do their annual event. So that's something to look forward to and hopefully provide something on the Division 3. Yanick then goes into define why the delay seems a little contrite, forced, maybe even kind of a cover-up to define issues that Ubisoft is having in-house, including the delayed release of Assassin's Creed. They canceled the Heartlands. They've got other stuff going on. There's the talk of the potential sell of Ubisoft to Tencent or maybe even another buyer. We don't know. It seems like it's been pretty quiet, so I don't know what they're doing with that one. But here's Yanick going into the reason as to why.
it's a big piece of content, a very ambitious undertaking for the team we have today on the division, and this thing takes time, and everybody is very hard at work to make it as good as we can.
In all fairness, I can get behind that reason. Ubisoft is bleeding employees left and right. A lot of people are getting fired or getting replaced. They did bring some more people back on to go ahead and work on the Division 3. Division 2 staff is really kind of minimized right now, so this DLC is going to be smaller than the Warlords of New York, but there's rumors of the DZ coming back from Division 1. Now, whether that has any validity or truth behind it, it's yet to be determined. I've only heard the rumors. I haven't seen anything solid as to stating that that was going to happen. Daria went on to explain that this is different than Warlords of New York because Warlords of New York was an expansion. This is just a DLC, so kind of lower expectations as far as like size. Here we go. I'll show you.
But this is actually why we call 1E as an expansion and Battle for Brooklyn a DLC. So that should also give you enough to work with in terms of expectations.
I added that little note in there just on the happenstance that somebody new stumbles across this video after the expansion drops. Tends to gain more players when they start expanding and dropping DLCs. It definitely wasn't in there for the initiated. Now, rumors had that the price point for the DLC was going to be about $20 US, but they don't confirm the price point on this stream. But if it's smaller than Warlords of New York, which was pretty much $20 to $30, then I'm assuming that this one's going to be about $10 to $15.
I see that there are questions about the price point. That is definitely not something we're going to be answering today. That information will come at a later date.
So at this point, they pretty much stopped talking about the DLC and get into the PTS. Now, you can't play PTS on Xbox or PlayStation. You can only play it on PC, so you have to have an account. Plus, you have to have the game. So it's not free, which I think should be, because there's Xbox and PS5 players that want to be able to do this, but they can't. So they don't get an update on anything. They have to rely on PC players to stream it or record it and show it to you later. I honestly believe that the only requirements that you should have is the game, because there is an identifier that comes with the game when you play it on one of the consoles, and an Ubisoft account. That's pretty much all the requirements should be, and you should be able to download the PTS whenever it's open so people can get accustomed to it, and you would get more better feedback and data from it. That's just my opinion, but you know what that's worth.
And regarding the PTS itself, as usual, preload is going to be available today. Actually, from what I know, you should be already good to go and try to preload the build.
So from here, they get into the modifiers for the next season, and I'll go ahead and let him break it down as far as like what the developer is bringing to the table and how it is they expect the gameplay to be. And then I'll pause it on the modifier menu so you can read it for yourself. And I'll go ahead and break it down as well.
And I'm actually going to show you right away what it is. It is here. And this modifier is called Rogue Momentum. And the idea of the modifier is that it's to encourage you to play aggressively. So the more you kill enemies, the faster you kill them, the better bonuses you're going to get. So it's a bonus that stacks with the more kills you do, but degrades over time, so you have to maintain it, and the higher you get it, the more the stronger you get.
So as he defined, it is called Rogue Momentum. So how that works: build momentum by eliminating enemies. Kill, kills, multi-kills, headshot kills, tactical kills. Higher tiers grant escalating bonuses, but momentum decays over time. The decay is temporarily paused when you sprint or use a pulse. So the bonuses calculated as the first tier, 5% weapon and skill damage. Swift is the second tier, 26% to 50%, plus 10% weapon skill damage, 10% movement speed, and 5% reload speed. Ruthless, 51% to 75%, 15% weapon skill damage, 15% movement speed, 10% reload speed, and 15% rate of fire. Savage, 76 to 95%, 20% weapon skill damage, 20% movement speed, 15% reload speed, 20% rate of fire. Unstoppable, 96% to 100%, so 20% weapon skill damage, 20% movement speed, 20% reload speed, 25% rate of fire, and skill overcharge. Blacklisted enemies. Random enemies marked during combat provide bonus momentum and 10% weapon handling and critical hit chance when killed. Taking damage from blacklisted enemies slow momentum gains by 50% for 5 seconds. So you got to watch out. And this right here is going to pair nicely with that hybrid capacitor skill build. So you can do a lot of damage because you're going to get bonuses to the capacitor and you're going to get bonuses to the skills. It might even pair nicely with that infinite seeker build, provided that they don't nerf it. And from here he moves on to the hostile modifier, because for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction. So let's see what the enemy gets.
Let's talk about the hostile modifier. So we went for something much more streamlined this time compared to the ones in Season 2. We have one modifier, and that's a general modifier that applies everywhere. And it's that the enemies, it's called Frenzy, and enemies grow more aggressive as you progress through the season. So the enemies all receive a buff through the season, or like those that get Frenzy receive a buff, and the buff increases the further you progress in your season journey.
That sounds like something that they did for this last one, where the enemies were getting shock ammo that would shock you longer than your shock ammo could shock them. I think I said shock way too many times there. Alright, so enemies grow more aggressive and resilient, matching your rising momentum. Frenzied enemies boast increased rate of fire, movement speed, and rapid armor health regeneration. Higher season progression increases the number of frenzied enemies and the potency of their buffs. As you push through season chapters, frenzy becomes more common and more powerful. Chapter 3, 10% rate of fire, 10% movement speed, 10% per second armor and health regeneration. Boy, them chungas are going to be a boof. Chapter 4, 20% for rate of fire, 15% movement speed, 15% per second armor health regen. Chapter 5 and onwards, 30% rate of fire, 20% movement speed, 20% per second armor and health regeneration. So the heavy machine gun chunga is now going to be a major pain in the ass. Alright, so the more powerful you grow in power, the more ruthless your enemies become. Stay sharp. This is not going to be fun. Going further, he gets into active and passive modifiers. He doesn't really get too far in the weeds. He just kind of shows them on the screen and then goes past it real fast. He doesn't go through all of the passive modifiers, but active modifiers, he leaves them on the screen long enough for me to go ahead and grab them. So I went ahead and grabbed them real quick. I'll show all 3 of them up here, read through them real quick, and then we'll go on from there. I stand corrected. First and foremost, passive modifiers he goes through. Active he doesn't go through at all. So this one here is Overdrive. Instantly max out your rogue momentum and receive powerful combat bonuses. After Overdrive ends, your momentum gain is temporarily reduced. And then it goes through the bonuses, the penalties. After Overdrive ends, momentum gains are reduced by 50% for 30 seconds. And the cooldown is 150 seconds. So you get a while to wait before that thing resets. Moving right along to Tactical Supremacy, increase all equipped passive modifier bonuses for a limited time. Your momentum won't increase or may be canceled if at Ultimate Tier while this effect is active. Certain actions increase the duration of Tactical Supremacy. Granted bonuses 15-second base. All passive modifier effects are increased by 100%. That's pretty good. Headshot kills, plus 2 seconds. Supremacy, some other little bonuses or penalties. No momentum gain while active. If at unstoppable momentum tier 95 to 100, it will be canceled on activation. Cooldown 150 seconds. That sucks. And I cut a little bit of the top of Vendetta off when I was recording, so it's mark multiple enemies for elimination. So using the indicated means primary weapon, skill, or pistol to earn stacking defensive bonuses. Failing to eliminate enemies using the indicated means reduces your armor. And then it goes through the bonuses or what it does, the penalties. If you fail to eliminate a marked enemy using the specified method, you will suffer a negative 30% armor penalty. Vendetta marks are visible and interactable to nearby players. Oh, so it can, all right, helps the team. All right, its bonuses and penalties can also apply to nearby players. Furthermore, Vendetta will overwrite any blacklist marks while active. The blacklist marks are reverted once the ability effects ends. Momentum drain does not apply for the duration of Vendetta. That's probably going to be the one more people use than anything. And a few other key notes that he got into, but he got really long-winded with it, was why do I need to play with modifiers? Because they're going to go ahead and add a whole lot of bonuses, XP, and everything else going on with it. And then we all know that there was 1 through 7 on the progression chart. So 1 and 2 are now skippable because it adds a whole bunch of stuff like going, tier a weapon or, go collect some materials or something like that. Everybody on the end game doesn't even need to do that, nor should they. So he went ahead and took that out so everybody that's in game can start at tier 3 and start working through, because that's where the modifiers start coming into play. A couple other things is they took out some of the other unessential stuff that was in the first version for the modifiers and got rid of it, such as going through and getting done with the priority missions. So it's no longer a thing for the new modifiers in Season 3. And later on, he went in to start playing the game just to kind of show how the modifiers worked. It looked like it was just increasing his movement speed and rate of fire. Have to get into it to actually see how it's going to work, because it looked like it was more designed for skills. A lot of the active modifiers were skill based, so it looks like they're trying to buff up the skills after nerfing them probably consecutively over the last 3 or 4 title updates. So maybe there's some buffs coming. I don't know, yet to be played and seen. I know a lot of the YouTubers that are PC players will get into the PTS and they'll play the shit out of this and kind of blow everything out of the water. To hell with us console players. It's not like we matter anyway. That being said, he went ahead and exposed the new exotics and gear brand. So the SMG exotic that he played with, pretty much rate of fire. It looks like it was a shield, so it replenishes your shield with kills. I don't know if it's going to be critical hits or critical kills. Unsure. So, what they put in the PTS is not exactly what we're going to get in the field. So, the backpack looks like a healer backpack, but I don't think that that's really going to play well. Nothing's going to beat those BTSUs, especially when you're running the Reviver Hive, because you overcharge everybody, gets their Reviver Hive back and everything else. So, yeah, yet to be seen. And then there was a set, I think it was a set of gloves, but didn't really look into it. Like I said, everything that comes out in the PTS is not necessarily what we get in the field when it drops, so yet to be determined on that one. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one short right here. It's gotten a little long-winded. I apologize for that. And then once I get into the patch notes, because I know they're going to increase the box, everybody's going to get an increase in their gear store, especially if you have Year 1 and you have the expansions. It's going to increase up to 400. So big up for that one. Everybody's been praying and waiting for that one forever, because they keep increasing the gear sets without increasing the box's capability to store all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off right here. As always, thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, all the good stuff. Become a subscriber. I could use it. So go ahead and leave it here. I'm the Infidel, on Rumble, on YouTube. Rounds complete. End of mission. I'm out.